so many people have paved the way for you to have this great opportunity. Think of your mother, your fathers, your aunt, your great aunts, your great grandmas, and so up that really paved this way. So every ounce that I get when I get an opportunity, I want to make sure I get out there. And I even talk to my daughter about it and tell her when she get there, I want her to learn about making choices and who to vote for. I want her to do that. I don't want to lead her this way. I want her to know and understand what it means to be independent and just vote.
Mm-hmm. And could you share what actually made you want to vote, or what was the first thing that made you want to vote or motivated you to vote?
What I said something last time, but I say this is another thing that really got me is that I really looked at everybody else going to vote, and I didn't understand it. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what was really going on. All I just know, we get a new president or a new councilman, a councilwoman, and I didn't know what they was all about. But as I got older, I started listening more and more and started to wonder more and more about what this meant. What is this all about? And as I got to that and I started to understand that, it was like, I want to be part of that. I want to make sure that when I get that age and 18 able to vote, I want to get involved. So I ran to the vote. I wanted to get there. I wanted to be the first, but I wasn't. But I wanted to be the first. So that's what really, and then my wife, because my wife is from Alabama, so it's a lot different being from the South and what people had to go through in the South and compared to out here. So we take this thing very, very, very seriously.
Yes, as it should be taken. Well,
Yes.
thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to now invite our candidate.
All right. You take care, and I'm Pastor Lee. You take care now.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, and then now I believe I can request it to be okay. Now I'm just waiting for another request. It just went away. There was a little notification. Notification of another candidate requesting, but then it went away. So if you would like to come on or are ready to come on, please request the little green button that's next to the comment section. As we're waiting, I am going to just talk about a little bit more about Valle Volta. A little shameless plug here. Valle Volta is basically kind of what this is all about. We're trying to spread the importance of voting, encourage people in the Imperial Valley to vote, since our voter turnout rate is quite low. I believe our voter turnout rate in the primaries was 30%. So yeah, we're just really trying to send a message out there. Our team is mainly college and high school student ran. And yeah, excuse me. Things that I do in Valle Volta, or things that we have to offer in Valle Volta. We have on our Facebook page that was tagged, we have a link tree that has resourceful links for you to go register to vote, extra information, our newsletter, things like that. We also have on our Facebook page all the propositions to get to know what you are looking at when you're going to the voting polls, things like that. Again, if any candidate is ready to come on live to answer some questions, please click the green button on the side, or anyone from Valle Volta, if they're here, please feel free to request. Okay, candidate Yulene would like to be in here again. Let me... I don't know if it connected. That's so strange. For some reason, I don't know why my thing is not letting me, but I'm just gonna. There we go.
Hey,
Hi.
you're doing good. It's just takes getting used to. Don't worry. I wanted to kind of talk about what Pastor Lee. I was hoping he would go in a little bit more detail about the difference, the value of a vote in different regions of the United States. Like, I was really interested in hearing how it might differ for young individuals here as it is back, in the on the East Coast, and especially the southern East Coast. I don't know if Pastor Lee is still around, but if you are Pastor Lee and you want to expand a little bit about the value of voting in different regions that you have experienced, I think that would be really valuable for our kids to hear and learn about. I know, for one thing that I learned in high school was about the civil rights movement and the Chicano movement. I studied it vastly, and it just became a passion and a way for me to get inspired to get involved. But an icon of the voting, rights just passed away, John Lewis, Congressman John Lewis. And, the fact that people back in those days were willing to risk their lives to vote tells you how much they valued to make sure their voices were heard. And so I want to kind of connect that to what we're seeing here in Imperial County. We have individuals that have the opportunity that has been granted to them, and we're seeing this 30%. I was just like, oh my gosh, when you mentioned the 30% rate, I was just like, wow, I haven't done my homework. Thank you for doing it for me as a person, like just realizing that that voter turnout was only at 30% in the primary was dumbfounding. And so I think that it's valuable for us to also recognize that youth, before maybe, I don't know, that might be something for you guys to look into. Like, were the youth involved? I know that Congressman John Lewis was only like 22 or 23 when he started getting active for voting rights. That was one thing. That was like I think that's his legacy that he leaves behind for us, right? But I know that Sonia Carter is ready. Sonia, you ready to come on board? I think she's ready to come on board. I'm excited to see all our different candidates come and participate with our youth. And so let's make sure our youth make their voice heard, value their vote. I've been trying to talk my sons, I have adopted sons everywhere. I'm trying to get them to register. They're like, I don't follow politics. Well, you better, because some of these politics may become propositions where you may have to pay into as a single, taxpayer. You also may be, thinking about, you don't follow politics, but a lot of laws and policies come and they hurt us in our pocketbook or sometimes even in our personal lives. And it's because we never followed politics. And you don't really necessarily have to follow politics, but definitely during the voting season, become aware. Yes. So I'm going to let Sonia come on board. Jasmine, keep up the good work, and I'll be coming in and out if you need some backup. Just say, Hi.
Thank you. Awesome. Again, if you can, anyone who's ready, if they can request to go live, next to the comments section, there's a little green button. And if you hit that, you can request to go live. Let me check if anyone requested. No. Okay. I do not see her request, sadly. I think Sonia needs to request again because I don't see it. Oh, yay!
Hello.
You. If you could please introduce yourself and say why you think voting is important.
Hi, my name is Sonia Carter, and I'm running for El Centro City Council. I had shared a watch party, and it wouldn't let me use the green button because I had shared it that way. So I had to exit out of the watch. So I do apologize. It took me so long to get on.
Don't worry.
I'm so interested in voting. I'm fired up to get the people out to vote. You need to register to vote. It's so important. I just can't express it enough how much people need to get out and vote. We have to get our youth out there. I don't know what all we can do to get the votes of the youth, because there's so many people that may register, but just getting them to actually vote.
Yes.
It's a difference. You know, you can register all day,
Yeah.
but we need to get this vote to the county office. We need you to get this in so that way it can count. We need everybody's vote, and it's very important. And I do appreciate you stepping up and doing what you're doing tonight. You go, girl.
Thank you.
Do your thing.
And then one last question. If you could describe your first voting experience, specifically what made you want to vote?
What made me want to vote is because I come from a house full of educators. And as my mom being a teacher, she definitely pushed. You guys are going to vote. You're going to be involved. She actually just spoke that over my life. I really miss my mom. She passed away 3 years ago, but she really spoke that over my life. She said, you're going to do something big in the community. And I was like, yeah, right. But look at me now. Here I am.
Yeah.
So my first time going to register to vote, we went as a family. We actually sat down and for dinner, and we all filled out our books together. And our mom and dad are very strong, both of them, you know, in the community. And they said, okay, you give us your opinions of what you want and how you want this vote to go.
Yes.
They didn't give us any suggestions. They made us read and do our homework ourselves. Then we were able to put our own voices in. Your voice matters, they told us. This is your voice. You don't have to stand for what your parents want. You need to stand for what you want. And it's very important that we express that to people. Your vote is your voice. You really need to get out there and vote. It is so important. I just can't express it enough. And I've been telling everybody, and I will continue to tell everybody. And that's why we're on all this week, to let people know, get the youth out there to vote.
Yeah. We love to see it. So I'll let you go. We have a candidate, I believe, who's ready. Thank you so much for your story and for your message. Love it. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. And I appreciate everything you're doing. Keep doing it. Keep pushing.
So much.
The community needs people like you.
Yes. Thank you. Have a good night.
You as well. Bye-bye.
Okay, I think I can. Awesome. I'm about to accept another candidate.
Hi, I finally was able to get in.
It took about like a good 5 minutes to figure out how to accept the request. But yeah, I'm very excited to have you here. If you could please introduce yourself and explain what is important.
Hi, my name's Liliana Duran, and I am running for the Imperial Unified School Board, a seat on that board. It's really important for everyone to get out there and vote, especially our youth, because it allows you to have a voice within your community, and it allows you to put people in positions that that you're familiar with issues that you're familiar with, that would hopefully, you know, do what you need to be done within your community and help pass laws, help pass propositions. A lot of these things coming up on the ballot are really important, especially for the youth, because eventually you guys are going to be where we are at now, and you're going to be the movers and shakers here. So your decisions that you make now will matter later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you could please explain your first voting experience, specifically what made you want to vote or motivated you to vote.
Well, when I turned 18, right on my birthday, I got to vote for the very first president. So that was almost like a birthday gift to myself. I was able to to put my voice out there. And I was always involved in some way in politics, even as a kid, because my mom would always run. She was a city clerk for about 30 years. So nobody ever wanted to run against her, and it was for a very good reason. So I was around all that for a long time, and it was just really, she taught me a lot of why it was so important to get out there and vote. So as soon as I turned 18, I was registered and I voted for my very first presidential election.
I love that. So exciting. Coming to your show. I'm very excited. I just turned 18. So yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to go ahead and move on to our next candidate. Thank you so much for coming on.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you for everything that you do, Jasmine. Bye-bye.
Bye. Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and put a headphone on. Just feedback. A quick question. Can everyone hear me all right? Just to make sure that there's no feedback, I put an earbud on. But yeah, being informed before going to vote is super important. Vaya Vota puts out all the propositions and things like that. And as since I facilitate what goes on, in what we post on social media and things like that, I'm teaching myself as I'm posting these propositions, as I'm posting how these propositions affect us locally. So yeah. I think Daryl is here and he might be ready to join based on what I'm seeing in the comments. Again, to request, there's a little green button next to the comment section. Yay, cool. Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Are you having fun doing this?
Yes, I am.
That's awesome.
I'm kind of new to Facebook. Usually it's I guess like
Insta.
yeah, it's usually Instagram. So yeah, it took me a while to figure out how to even request people on or invite people on. So finally got the hang of it.
Right. Yeah, my daughter tells me I'm too old. That's why I'm on Facebook. So I understand. It's for all us old folks most of the time.
So if you could please introduce yourself and
Sure.
tell us why you think voting is important.
Sure. Thank you for giving me the chance. My name is Daryl Pechtel, for those of you that don't know who I am. And I'm famous for being the father of Kennedy Pechtel, if you know her. But that's really, I don't do much else. I am the current mayor of Imperial. I sit on the city council. I'm up for re-election, but that's not why I'm here. I'm an educator. I've been in education now for almost 30 years. And I've taught seniors throughout my career. That's where I started, government and econ. And one of the things I was always real excited about during seasons like this with seniors was to get to teach them about why to register to vote and what it would mean to them to become voters. And we would do wonderful discussions and debates in my classes. And, I'd have the kids studying what the different initiatives that were on the ballot were and have them consider how, I'd have them debate what side they wanted. We would talk about who the candidates were. We would do mock elections. And now I love that California is taking this step and opening the door up to a younger generation and telling 16 and 17-year-olds that they should pre-register and they should, start paying attention. What I've seen evolve over 30 years, that's got me so excited about this now, is I really do think that 16, 17, 18-year-old group in our society today has a much better grasp of what
Yes.
all of this political stuff is than this, even the students I had 10 years ago, much less 25 and 30 years ago. And they're way out in front of where I was back when I was in school. You know, I'm almost 55, so I have to go back quite a ways to remember registering to vote. But you know, it was an exciting time for me.
Yes.
But I didn't know a lot. I was still
Mhm.
learning. I was heavily influenced by my parents. You know, they were Democrats, and so I would hear them talk about the issues and hear them talk about the candidates, and so that's what shaped me. And now it seems like when I talk to my daughter, I don't think I shape her as much as I get my blade sharpened by her, because she's so well informed and paying attention, and she sparks the debates.
Mhm.
And it makes me happy and proud as
Yes.
a dad to have a 17-year-old daughter that's just throwing it out. But I see that with her friends, and she talks about her discussions and her debates with her friends, you know, and they may be on the far right, she's a little more far left, and but they talk and they engage, and that's awesome. And that's what we're looking for. We want young people to register, to have a voice to express. That's
Yes.
what excites me about all of this.
Yes, same here. And just to recall something from your first voting experience, I know you mentioned that you were heavily influenced by your parents, but what motivated you to vote and made you want to vote?
My first election would have been 1984. I turned 18. I graduated in June of 83, turned 18 in fall of 83. The next year was a presidential election year. Ronald Reagan was in office and was running for re-election. And I got interested. My mother was a union member, and she was not happy with Ronald Reagan. He had fired all the air traffic controllers whenever they'd gone on strike. And so that influenced my opinion. So I started looking at who are these Democratic candidates. Sadly, I think I had Walter Mondale to choose from back then, but I got excited about it because
Yeah.
I was still, you know, learning. I was starting off into college. I'd been traveling for a year. I'd traveled around the world with a group of people on a singing group and been out for an entire year after high school. And I had heard opinions from all over the globe, and
Wow.
those heavily influenced what I was
Yeah.
doing. So I didn't have social media. I had bus seat media. You know, we were all next to each other on bus seats,
Yeah.
and we would talk, and I would hear these ultra liberal and ultra conservative ideals, and I'd seen some of the world, and I came back wanting to get involved and make a difference.
Hmm.
But the election that really woke me up was about 4 years later. I was in college in Riverside, and my roommate was the president of the Young College Democrats here in California. And he got very involved in the campaign for a candidate named Gary Hart, who became a bit of a scandalous figure. But before the scandal, I got to accompany my roommate. He and I would go to some of these fundraising events, and I got to meet Gary Hart, who's running for president, sit and talk to him. I got to sit at a table with the mayor, Willie Brown from Los Angeles. And here I was, not even 20 years old, sitting there with Willie Brown at my table, talking over what it was like to be a mayor of Los Angeles and,
Wow.
you know, a Black Democrat, first Black mayor of California, and all of the things that he was engaged with. Mayor of San Francisco. And, you know, but just really got into these great conversations, and I got to learn from some real giants at the time that
Yeah.
were backing this guy. And that got me into wanting to be involved in the voting. Because I realized I could make a difference. I could impact my world. I could impact my home
Yeah.
by voting, by having a voice. I never planned on going into politics. This was never, ever on my horizon. But through volunteering and helping, I found myself here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well-
So, you know, doing things like you're starting to do, where you're doing social outreach, that opens the door.
Yes, it does. It's been an amazing experience so far. The past like I think it was just last week, and then everything started when I first did the Meet the Candidates with the Molina family and like the West Side View Productions. It really opened the door, and of course, Vaya Vota opened the door. So I'm really excited to be doing all this. And thank you for sharing your experience. I love the stories and everything.
Well, thanks. And I hope young people that tune in and catch this now or later
Yes.
really take to heart that even though I may look like just this old guy, the passion for what's happening in my world started when I was their age. And they need to express their voice. They need
Mm-hmm.
to register to vote and make sure that people like me have to hear them
Yes.
so that we have to respond because they're going to shape the future by asking us questions.
Yes.
And then they're going to be ready to take that next step in a few years to being the leaders themselves, to sitting at that dais and to guiding their community as they go forward. But it starts with reading, it starts with listening, and it starts with asking questions and demanding answers. And you do that with your vote every time.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
No problem.
I enjoyed hearing it, and I'm gonna go ahead, and I think someone else might request to go on. So thank
I think
you.
Daniel Ochoa is coming. So you guys have a
Yes.
great conversation. Good
Thank
luck tonight.
you.
Have fun. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Awesome. So yeah, I'm just gonna wait for Daniel to request, but yeah, there's a stigma that the youth can sign all these petitions, be motivated to go protest and do all these crazy amazing things, fill out registration and do all these things, but at times like we aren't motivated for some reason to go actually vote. So that is why I'm here. That is why Vaya Vota's here. That's why these local candidates are here to help motivate us and really push the importance of voting. And yeah, I'm just gonna wait for anyone else who would like to come join. But yeah, I guess to talk a little bit more. I don't see anyone. Cool. But yeah, to talk a little bit more about the importance of vote, mainly directed to the youth. At times, I know there's this bit of anxiety sometimes whenever we think about what's going on nationwide politically and things like that. It at times we feel discouraged because what are some kids gonna do? Like what are we gonna do? How are we gonna impact? How are we gonna make change? Um, Growing up, I've always felt like that until I realized that there are options, that there are reasons to get involved, and you know, I may feel like whatever I do may be insignificant nationwide, but whenever I got involved into looking at to local politics, things that are going on locally, I realized it's a whole nother world that I didn't even know what was there. So yeah, I'm really happy that Vaya Vota got me into all this. It was something that I've always loved, but never really like knew was there. And I know that a lot of other members from Vaya Vota feel that way. So actually one of them is requesting to come on, and I'm gonna go ahead and approve. And it is a member from research named Ricky. Hi.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
That's good. That's good. I'm really good.
So if you could introduce yourself, what do you do in Vaya Vota?
Yeah, so my name is Ricky Sedano. I'm going to be an incoming sophomore at UC San Diego, but I'm a El Centro native. And for Vaya Vota, I'm in the research team, so kind of those statistics that Angel was talking about earlier, that 30%, we handle those numbers and we kind of put them and apply them.
Awesome. And so why do you think voting is important, Ricky?
So I think that especially in kind of 17 to 18-year-olds, there's a stigmatism of like not wanting to vote and not
Yeah.
wanting to kind of contribute. But I think that, you know, I mean, speaking from my experience,
Mhm.
being a male and having to be in the selective service, I have a right to also speak about, country decisions and
Yeah.
politics. So voting is honestly a constitutional right given to Americans to kind of have their voice heard and really make an impact on what's happening.
Yeah. And if you want to share, I guess, something a part of your first experience voting, mainly what made you want to vote? What motivated you to vote?
Yeah. So I do live in El Centro right now, but I did vote in San Diego because I was in San Diego at the time. And I believe that I did pre-register to vote at the DMV when I was 16. I'm not sure, but when I got my driver's license, I did make sure to pre-register to vote.
Yes.
And kind of like a quick side note, when I went to go vote in San Diego, I obviously wasn't there, um, so I had to conditionally vote, which is also another great
Mm,
option if you maybe couldn't register to vote or past that deadline. That's also a very good option.
yes.
But kind of going back to your question of why I decided to vote, it's really having voices heard, and for me, I wanted to feel like I contributed to society and really
Yeah.
um, and the American democracy system.
Yes.
I think that our system, some views might say it's flawed, some views say it's perfect, but either way, I think that to some extent it gives accuracy to people's ideas and ideologies.
Hmm. And then if you
Yeah.
could elaborate more a little bit on the option to conditionally vote.
Of course, of course. So conditional voting, also known as in-person voting,
Mhm.
that is an option for people that decided not to register to vote or decided to vote through mail. Um, Perhaps the October 18th deadline just came a little too fast,
Uh-huh.
or you didn't have internet access to register to vote online. Conditionally voting gives another option,
Yeah.
thinking that, oh, I didn't register to vote, so I can't vote. If you are eligible, you can still vote. You just go to
Hmm.
your precinct or polling place and say, I'm a conditional voter, and they have to legally
Yeah.
take your ballot,
Yeah.
take your vote. Yeah,
Love it. Thank you so much, Ricky, for coming on. I love all the
yeah, for sure.
information and your experience. I appreciate you coming on. Thank you for joining, and I'll see
Yeah,
you
for sure.
later.
All right.
Awesome. That was Ricky. Our research team works so hard for us. Um, I feel like social media and the research team do a lot, but who gives us information for social media? Our research team. They work so hard, and yeah, they just do a lot for us. All those numbers, all the statistics, getting reliable information, because at times I can only imagine if I didn't have like it's really hard to get accessible voter information sometimes. There are resources out there, but things can get hectic. You don't know what's nonpartisan, what's impartial. So yeah, that's why Vaya Vota's out here to put some local information out. And I think someone requested to join. I'm just waiting for it to connect. Because I believe someone requested to join. Yes, some are partisan. So it's hard at times to get impartial information. And at times you feel like you have to dig through so much and things get confusing. So yeah. Hi. Sorry, you cut out a little bit. I didn't really hear you. If you could please introduce yourself again.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm new to Facebook Live. I've actually never participated in one before.
Me
but thank you so
too.
much for hosting this and just for your great work. To introduce myself, my name is Brianna Barajas, and I'm a resident of Imperial County. I recognize voting to be such an important issue, especially for our youth. It is the way to get involved and to partake in those larger decisions that go on around us in our community. And so I just think that civic engagement is so important. And even now, the accessibility is so much greater now that we have, pre-registration to vote. It's a way to invite our 16 and 17-year-olds to, in the future, register as voters and have their voice heard in the community, which I really, really applaud that. And I applaud the efforts of what you guys are doing and the research and that's such rich information. We live in a community that has been historically underrepresented, and people always complain about that. But I think when we have things like low voter turnout, low census participation, that only kind of keeps us in that predicament. It doesn't let us come out and achieve greater and be more, be more informed and more engaged as a community. I think that if people focus more on that civic participation, then we'll see more of the positive change in our communities that are really important to us and to building a strong community for our youth and families. And as far as involving our youth, upon turning 18, it's, yes, you get liberties, but you also get a lot of responsibilities that come from being an adult. So, a lot of people are entering the workforce, and that's another reason why I think it's a big push for our youth, particularly to take an interest in voting when they have the opportunity to do so, because once they're taxpayers, a lot of those propositions, a lot of those different things that are on the ballot soon come to affect us in our direct lives, directly in our pocketbooks. And so I think that it's just so important. And in high school, for example, learning about civics classes, questioning things, becoming a critical thinker, those are such important skills that in adulthood really come into play when we do things such as voting, when we make, long-term decisions that affect our lives as adults. I really think that's why kids, especially 16 to 17 years of age, ought to pay good attention in their classes and receive, the best education that they can, because that will make their lives so much easier as an adult, and it'll help make sense of, the things that happen around us, that sometimes when you're 16 or 17, you think, what a headache, why am I writing a paper? I think once you become an adult, a lot of those things start to come into play, and then you realize, I'm grateful that somebody gave me that headache back then when they made me write that paper. You know what? They taught me how to be a critical thinker. They taught me how to think about situations so differently, in a way that, helps me to become a better, more informed citizen. I just really want to speak praise on the work that you're doing and the research. I was a student for many years. I know research is a grueling process, but it is very necessary. It's necessary for us to grasp the needs of the community around us. So I just really applaud you guys. Great work.
Thank you.
And I really, really hope that the young folks get out there to vote. It's the most powerful thing that we can do as citizens, to have our stake in the decisions that happen around us. So great work to you and your team, and just,
thank you.
It does.
And if you quickly want to share something about your first voting experience, specifically what actually motivated you to vote or made you want to vote?
Well, I guess for me, my want to vote happened even before I was able to vote. I always took an interest, like, in social policy and kind of those drier areas that most people would consider dry, but to me, they're just very interesting. I was a delegate state, and so I got to participate in that and learn about, local, state politics, how all that
Yeah.
plays out. And that really highlighted my understanding of what it means to vote. And
Mhm.
it also fueled my passion for wanting to be
Yes.
civically engaged and, to keep abreast of the current events and just be informed. I like to know what's going on. I like to be aware. As an adult taxpayer now, things affect me, and the voice that we have does matter. So
Yes. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I loved your reasoning as to why you think voting is important. I completely agree, and I appreciate your viewpoint as a citizen, and thank you so much.
thank you so very much. I'm not sure how to log off here, but
Oh,
maybe you
it's
can log off.
yes. Thank you
Okay,
so much.
perfect.
Have a good
Thanks
night. I accidentally cut her off. Sorry. But yeah, as a lot of people who have come on here mentioned, the message that we're trying to give out is mainly to students and people who are still in high school, trying to motivate them to pre-register to vote. It may not seem like a big deal, but one, it kind of puts things out of the way for you. For example, if you register to vote now, you don't have to do it later. Another thing is that it shows your initiative to get involved, that you're determined, you're ready, and to see that, to be able to get involved at times when we're 16, we feel like we can't do much because we're not 18 and we can't vote yet. But doing registering to vote, things like that, really shows that, hey, I'm ready. I'm I'm getting ready. So yeah, if I knew about this earlier, I would have definitely done it. And I didn't really know. And but I knew that I really was interested in civics and policy and our things going on in our government, stuff like that. I want to go to law school. So yeah, I think we have some requests. Awesome. We have Daniel ready. I don't know if he's still ready, but I'm going to invite him on anyways. Hello.
Hey Lou,
Hi, how are
how I see
you?
you. Hey Jasmine, good
Thank
job.
you. So if I could ask you to please, I guess, give a formal introduction and why you think voting is important.
At the age 18, Ronald Reagan was our president at the time while I was in high school. That what motivated me to get involved at age 18 in high school. I'll never forget my classmates that are listening, which is Yuli's one of them. We were in high school together, Yulil, so we go way back. But yeah, Ronald Reagan was our president. That's the reason got me more involved, because at the time we were going through wars and wars and wars, and I'm like, why wars? You know, I had to plug in to our school system, our social psych clubs. That's what motivated me. That's why I've been an advocate since high school. My grassroots goes back to high school. And you're in high school, former high school, and look where you're at now. You know, we reached out to you. We're reaching out to everybody that's involved in politics or no bipartisan, what you're doing. You know, we're gonna make the difference happen in our community. No matter what party you at, you know, we're here to vote. You know, make sure everybody votes this time. Like I was talking on my show earlier with Sonia. Those that have not registered to vote or thought that they voted just because they voted 4 years for the president and did not vote this last term, they're off the system, off the county system. I don't know if you guys know that.
I did not know that.
Okay,
Now we
well,
know.
I'm a former, and now you know. Well, this was brought up in my last show with Sonia, and I've been working elections since, let me go back. Let me give everybody a story that's listening to me right now. Remember the day David Dillon was running for Board of Supervisors? And those are listening to me, put thumbs up. But those that day, that's where my life changed as well. And working a campaign as an assistant, well, that day, I got to see how bad politics could get and how good politics could get. But what I'm trying to say is that people did not vote, and they said they voted. And when you look at the roster, you're like, well, you're not on the system. You're not in your region, your district, whatever. So that's where I caught my attention. Then on top of that, I started working in the election department. Every year I work election department. I worked the election department as an inspector or clerk. I've been doing that for the past 20 plus years in this county. And that's the reason I'm telling everybody, if you didn't vote it this last election, you're not on the system. So be registered to vote again. I don't care what party you're at, vote, vote, vote. Stop complaining and vote.
Yes.
Stop complaining and vote. I hate when people complain. Sorry to say, that's the reason I have my own show going on. Stop complaining and vote for these people that I'm putting on the circuit, social media, because that's what COVID's doing to us. We're all on social media. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. So.
Yes,
Thank you,
very
Jasmine.
true. And I guess if you could, I know you mentioned it earlier, but what really, I know you mentioned Ronald Reagan, but if there was anything else that pushed you to vote.
It was basically him, because I was gonna get sent to Desert Storm. I was like, in my classmates, you remember, we're gonna be sent to go to war, and it was crazy. I don't forget it. My dad didn't want me to serve.
Yeah.
My dad served Vietnam, and that's the story I still go by, because my dad said, no, I don't want you to serve. I served Vietnam, and the recruiters were constantly in my house because I had a good GPA at the high school. I was a nerd in high school. I was a nerdy kid, and I'm still a nerdy kid. I'm proud to be a nerd, what I do. But yeah, that's what motivated me to vote. And now my family's involved. They all vote. Even my niece, I make sure everybody in the house is registered. And my cousins that are looking at this right now, register to vote and stop complaining. I'm serious. I'm tired of people complaining from Brawley, Indio, Coachella, Calexico. Go register and vote. I mean, I don't know what they're complaining about, you know?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate your stories and your reason to vote and why you think it is important. So thank you so much and have a good night.
Take me up.
Awesome. And if there's anyone else ready to come on, I don't know if there's any other candidates that are ready. Feel free to hit the, or even honestly, anyone who wants to share their story about registering to vote and why they think it's important for the youth to register to vote. Please hit the little green button on the side of the comment section at the bottom of your screen if you would like to join and share your story. But yes, overall voting is extremely important, as we know. But yeah, as pre-registering is really important, mainly because I believe it just shows your initiative, that you're ready to vote, ready to participate. Okay. If anyone else wants to join, please request. Oh, well, it's already 8. I don't know if any candidates are in here that would like to join last minute to share a little something. Oh, awesome. Robert's here. Hello.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing good. Just got off my last meeting.
Thank you for coming.
Hey, no worries, no worries. I just I've been watching the last couple of days, so I sit here and watch them. So it's it's pretty neat to hear everybody's stories.
Yes. If you could please give yourself a proper introduction and express why you think voting is important.
Yeah, well, good evening. My name is Robert Amparano, and I am currently a city councilman in the city of Imperial and going up for re-election. So, and so, why is it important to vote, you say?
Yes.
Well, everybody says that it allows you to give you that voice, that choice, the decision. Well, what you're doing is you're actually trusting somebody to enact that motion for you, to do what you're asking. So, when people say, we've all heard it, we've all seen the videos when they say, well, you work for me. Well, even if you didn't vote for me or you didn't vote for that person, as long as they're elected, they work for the people. They're there to take care of the business of the people. So that's why it's important. The other thing that I always find different things to say is, we all look at voting differently.
Yeah.
And your views might be different than mine. You never know. But are yours wrong? Are mine wrong? Are yours right? Are mine right? We don't know because everybody's views are different. And what's hard now, and I'm hearing it from a lot of people, is they can't express their political views.
Yeah.
Because people are being targeted for what they believe in. And I thought we got rid of that. I thought we voted to get rid of that political oppression. This is a free country. That's why we're allowed to vote. So, just, I don't know, it's just a little something that I've seen and I've heard, and you have conversations with people all over the place, and you hear this. It's the same thing. And that's the sad part.
Yeah.
That's the sad part. I want to have my political freedom and say who I support. Like Daniel was saying, in high school, he was a little older than me, and I graduated a little bit later than him. He said he was a nerd. I was a little different. I was the other kid. I was a kid that was probably in trouble. Well, not probably, I was. But I still remember my senior year with that first time I got to vote. I graduated at 17. I turned 17 when I was 17. I turned 18 or something like that. I can't remember what it was. So right after that, I voted in the next election. But I said it earlier that I got to vote in Sealy.
Oh yeah.
And that was interesting for me. What I was doing. Talked to, you had Mr. Pechtel up here a little while ago. Me and Daryl go way back, and we probably had the same voting places, and we had probably the same views. And back then it was like, hey Mom, who do I vote for? And they tell you who to vote for. Now, me and my mom don't look and see eye to eye, because we have two totally different ways of seeing things. Fortunately, I have the background view and looking forward, and then everybody else. But it's important. But it's not about me. It's about the youth. Why is it important? And I'll tell you why. My daughter's 17. She's starting to drive, but she's starting to, she's driving. But what about these kids, these teenagers that are now at that age where they've already casted that vote, but they were a little late, and they go to the gas station and they fill up their gas tank and they're paying $3 a gallon, $3.20 a gallon. Do they even know how that came about? Could it? But those are those Senate bills, those propositions, all those things, those funding sources that make a difference. Actually, that was the meeting I was on right now. I'm a commissioner on another board, and we're looking at funding sources to do things within Imperial County. So it is very, very important to vote, because if we don't get those grants, we don't have those votes. And you know what grants are like. Some organizations are based off grants, and you got to get that. You got to get out and vote. Make that choice. Make that decision. Make that conscious decision. And then you know what? One of the other things I will say is do your research.
Yeah.
Kids, you know, right now these young teenagers that are pre-registering to vote, they have time to read those ballots. They have time to make that informed decision. Don't go on what somebody else is telling you. Just because you saw it on Facebook doesn't mean it's true. Make sure you do your informed research and get the right information. Don't just go off, you know, what the comadre or the vecina's, you know, nieces, aunts, nephews, cousins, uncles, brothers said. You know, you got to get the facts, because if not, it's not going to work. You're going to be later on going like, oh man, did I make the wrong decision? Did I vote for the wrong person? You know, I look at that all the time. You know, look at it. Look what's happening here. Look what's happening in the Valley. Look what's happening in California. And did we vote for it? Did we not vote for it? Could your vote have made the difference? Could your vote have cost you 80 cents a gallon of gas? You know, when you look at it like that,
yeah,
it hurts. But you know, it's not the 80 cents a gallon that you're paying. It's the almost $1.20. I was doing the numbers. We're getting back roughly about $17 per person on SB1 taxes. That's nothing. I'm trying to remember if I was right. I'm right, about 300,000 or something like that. What can you do with $300,000? Can't do anything. And that's the hard part. That vote counts. That vote matters. Be informed. Register. And you know, do the research. Find it, get it, and let's hope we can make that change where you can express your political views. You can express your political rights of what you believe in. You know, and like I said, we all believe different. That's why we're in this country. You know, I've said it before and I've said it in other forums. We are in the land of the free, where we are able to make our own decisions. We're not oppressed. So we need to move on. We need to start it all. So sorry, I can keep you going. I can talk for hours.
It's okay. Thank you.
You know. But
love
if
the
you have
information and the
questions for me,
stories.
you know, you let me know, and you know, ask me questions. I'm pretty good at it. So
Well, I guess one that I've asked the rest of the candidates that we're on is what motivated you to vote the first time, or what made you want to vote the first time?
And you know what? It was funny because I said it the other day, is when I turned 18, I was looking forward to registering to vote. But not only did I do that, is and Daniel can relate to this, is as a male, you had to sign up for the selective service. So I knocked them both out. I registered to vote and signed up for the selective service at the same time. But you know, I lived in Sealy. There was nothing else to do except, you know, I'm going to go to the post office and sign up to vote and register to vote. So I did get to do that, you know, and but yeah, that was my motivation. I did know, and in Sealy we didn't have a lot of things to a lot of people running. We had the school district and we had the water board, and then IID and then County Board of Supervisors, and that was it. So there wasn't too much, but that's all we got to vote. And obviously when there was a presidential election, you got those things and those propositions. And, you know, back then I didn't know what a proposition was. And I was like, I left it blank and wrote no. Now, oh my God, I go, what was I doing?
Yeah.
That proposition is the one that's costing me, you know, taxes right now. So it's the little things like that where it makes a difference. That one One vote. You know, Mr.
Yeah.
Gonzalez said yesterday that he lost his last election by, I think it was 7 votes. That's hard.
Yeah.
That means 7 friends, 7 Raider fans that would have voted, or 8 Raider fans that would have voted, would have made him win. If you know that it matters. And you know, I was always told too that, remember, if you don't vote, can't complain. Can't complain. You, hey, sorry, but it's the way it works. But I will add another note here. Daniel, you're right. Freedom is not free. Somebody had to fight for it. And so I know I've seen here the messages going through. There is a couple of veterans on here. So thank you guys very much for your service. But that was my motivation to register to vote. Obviously my parents were one of those ones that said, hey, you know, get out there and vote. I always wanted my little sticker, you know, this way I can say I did it. So,
Mhm.
but yeah,
Thank you so much. Thank you so much
you're
for
very
coming
welcome.
on, telling your
You're very
story, giving
welcome.
some stats. I appreciate it, and thank you for coming after your meeting.
Anytime. You're doing a great job. Hang in there.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll let you
All right.
go.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night.
Night.
Awesome. But yeah, before we sign off, since it is 8, I just wanted to talk about something that was mentioned before and that Robert mentioned is this concept of I work for you. That phrase, I work for you. The government works for us. It should work for us. Um, Councilmen and people like that should work for people. And it brought up this question that I had in my government class at IVC, my poli-sci and government class. One of the first questions that my teacher ever asked us, the teacher is Jose Landeros, but he mentioned like, oh, let's start off like kind of with the discussion. Is the government working for you? And I hate questions like that because I'm an overthinker. I don't know if anyone else is an overthinker, but I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, well, it doesn't work in a lot of ways, but also works in different ways. And I would be like, yeah, I tend to overthink, but point is it's true. These things that we vote on and stuff like that, it does impact us a lot. And at times we think, you know, it's insignificant just because of, you know, the electoral college and things like that. It impacts us locally, as Robert mentioned, our taxes and things like that. Of course, young people might not understand because they're not the ones paying them yet, but they eventually will, and those things might stay enacted for the next 4 or 8 years. So yeah, I think that is pretty much it. That's just an interesting thing to leave off on. Like, does the government work for you? Is it working for you? How does it work for us? And if we don't like it, voting and being informed on these propositions that could help us change the way it works for us is important. So yeah, I think that is pretty much it. I don't know if Yulil wanted to pop back on to help me give out this ending note, promote tomorrow's next live. I had a really great time here, and I loved hearing everyone's responses. It was great. It's my first Facebook Live. It took me, I have to admit, I thought it wasn't letting me like add people on, but in reality, I was looking at the wrong button. So I'm really happy that I figured that out at some point. But yeah, I'm just really happy that I got this opportunity to talk to these candidates and people in our community that are involved, interested, and supporting. It means a lot. And please make sure to like our page on Valle Vota. We would really appreciate it. We post all the propositions, all the breakdowns. Right now, we're going to start posting candidate infographics and information and just basic facts on our candidates. We did send out an email to all our candidates, so that way we can use that as a source of information for you guys and how these propositions will affect us locally and all that good stuff. So I'm gonna bring Lily on to say bye. Hello.
Hi. You did great on your
Wow.
first book live. Wow. And you know
Thank
what? It
you.
does take practice. I do a lot of Facebook lives. I was talking to Mr. Jose Luis Barrera yesterday, and
Mhm.
I said, no, it's tricky, but at the same time, it's easy. And I
Yeah.
personally love to see these live conversations
Yes.
on Instagram and on Facebook Live. And I'm just so happy to see that we have varied like our hosts this whole week.
Mhm.
I look forward to the next week. Hopefully tomorrow, Martha Singh, she's a candidate for the El Central City Council. Hopefully she'll be hosting tomorrow. I'll be joining her as well. And then on Friday, hopefully Mr. Amparano and Mr. Pecto, they're both incumbents, but they're also going up for reelection on Friday. Saturday, Ms. Sonia Carter, she's also a candidate for the El Centro City Council. And we're working on possibly another candidate on Sunday, but that's still pending. But I just want to tell everyone to keep inviting people to the event.
Yes.
It's almost like it's taking time to build like the audience and the
Mhm.
conversations. And what I like is that we are all being respectful. For one, we're being respectful. These are meaningful conversations, candid conversations about the importance of registering youth, talking about our experiences as young kids and our civics, classes, our teachers. Right now when Daniel brought that up, and I know we're going over time, but this is like, I always remember Mr. Dillon. He was the mayor at the time of El Central City Council, and he did a mock election inside of the social studies building that's right next to the band room for those Central Spartans. And I just remember him like being really tall and meeting him, of course, that he was the mayor, but also the fact that and oh my gosh, I'm going to be a little bit getting personal here, but the fact that he, along with other elected officials and leaders at the time when Enrique Camarena was murdered, they, as our leaders, took to, legislation and to create a movement back then, to honor Kiki Camarena. And they, started the Red Ribbon Week month that has now been not just like statewide, nationwide, but worldwide. We know about this. And it was our civic leaders, our teachers from our area, and that took this onward and forward. And back then, I don't think any of us knew how far they would go with their passion. But I think that just teaches us all that we all need to come together
Yeah.
and talk in a respectful way, and talk about things that matter, like voting and our freedom that is not free. And we have to thank our veterans for protecting us. I know that some are watching, but and just understand each other and work towards that whole big project, is get our young voters involved. And hopefully, we'll be able to do more outreach next week with the absentee ballots, one-on-one conversations. So we're going to continue this together as a team, nonpartisan, no platforms being shared, just conversations with people and experiences that hopefully people will share with others. So everyone have a good night. Jasmine, you're the host. You say good night to everybody on our behalf.
Thank you, everyone. Good night. Be sure to invite other people to this event. I had a fun time hosting. It was great. I love hearing everyone's stories. And yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Bye.